So, Marco Taisch, Giuliana, Iannaccone, come on, this. And we have in virtual mode Filippo Barbera. Okay, I just present you the speakers of this first roundtable. As mentioned by Marita, we focus the strategic and technology foresight skills. We have the professor Giuliana Iannaccone, associated professor, Department on Architecture, Built Environment and Constructor Engineering of Politecnico di Milano, member of the scientific committee of the Center for Technology Foresight. With us, we have Marco Taisch. You know, Marco Taisch is a full professor, Department of Economics, Management and Industrial Engineering, Politecnico of Milano, and he is a president of this beautiful location, MADE Competence Center, Industry.4. And in a virtual mode, we have connected, I think so, Filippo Barbera, Innovation and Foresight Expert, President of Forwardto. Okay, waiting Filippo. We don't know if we have a Filippo. Waiting Filippo. Okay, this is the second roundtable. There's no problem. I'd like to remember the ideas inside the forward thinking, the foresight thinking. Remember the words and the vision of the foundation father of this vision, or the founder. It's too cool to call him the founder today. Richard Slaughter has defined foresight, also known as future thinking or simply futuring, as, I read his words, the ability to create and maintain a high quality, coherent and functional forward view, and also the ability to use the insights arising in useful organizational ways. So in this word, we recognize the vision explained by Marita as a new core competency. Foresight can provide competitive advantage to all those companies who want not only improve the decision-making process, but also to navigate and gain our uncertain and changing world. And in this last year, we know as well how does it mean. So as a first short ice-breaking question, I'd like to ask you what does it mean in your opinion, and why students can develop, can improve, can empower this skill to navigate in the uncertain and to become future managers or leaders in this uncertain world. Who start? Professor Iannaccone.
Thank you so much for this question. In this way, I will be able also to, let's say, express my opinion, as I'm one of the coordinator of the program of Red Engineering field at Politecnico di Milano. So basically, students, when we speak about students of Politecnico di Milano, we are considered a wide community of students in the field of design, architecture, and engineering as well. And this is important because, of course, there are many opportunities of integration of the competencies among these different areas. In particular, I'm saying that because some of the students already have, maybe they are not totally aware about that. They already are trained to develop some kind of skills, for example, related to the identification of signals, horizon scanning, and even scenario analysis, which are some skills typically used in foresight practices. Maybe they are going to use these skills in a shorter term vision, while foresight activities look at a longer term vision. On the other side, especially in engineering fields, we have students which are trained to develop deep analytical skills, which are necessary as well. In a foresight context, of course, the main issue, the main challenge is to exit the boundaries of the disciplines. And the potential of integration among these skills coming from these different fields which exist at Politecnico di Milano is quite huge in practice, this foresight capabilities, especially if we think about critical thinking, system thinking, which is something that it's really, really demanded nowadays by the future professional. I must say that Politecnico di Milano in the last years invested a lot even to provide students with these extra skills that basically goes under the name of soft skills. So there is a special dedicated educational offer, for example, in the field of soft skills, in order to provide to students courses in the field of system thinking, critical thinking, collaborative thinking, conflict management, and also to give problem-solving approach or project-based approach to their activities. And there is one more set of skills which have been introduced for some, let's say, more hard engineering field, which are to introduce humanities in their educational offer. And this is also really important. And I must say, one more thing is related to the skills that, again, students acquire at Politecnico di Milano. Again, they are not so aware about that, but they are really, really important, which is a result of the process of internationalization of Politecnico di Milano, with the introduction of courses taught in English, which involve students from every corner of the world. And this is really important in the field of foresight practice, because by studying with other students coming from different culture, different disciplines, different background, help students to, let's say, to have a more rich and complete view about the world, and even a complete view about the future, even overcoming some bias or some cultural boundaries that generally exist. And this is really important. This is empathy, which is, let's say, if we can call it a skill, but even if not a skill. And last but not least, creativity is one more skills which is important. It is introduced some way into the educational offer, because what is important for students is to understand that there is no future to predict, but there is a future to invent. And with even with their technical skills and these extra skills that we will be able to gain, they will be able to contribute to build a better world and make change.
Thank we have so Professor Taisch. So the students, the future students, and the future manager, probably we have a little schizophrenic views, a little hard skill, a little soft skill. In your opinion, why the today students have to improve this kind of capabilities, hard and soft both?
Why they have, but also how they should have. That's what I would like to address. Why? Because it's very simple. If we look back at the history of the last century, the speed of evolution, the speed of innovation has been increasing dramatically. We saw the picture of the phone of 1987, but if we look at the number of inventions that we have had in the last 10 years, it's much higher than the number of inventions that we had in the last 100 years, right? And considering that the speed of innovation is increasing, we need to have people who is able to have a higher increase of futuring cycle in their mind. Otherwise, the risk is that the innovation is going faster than the ability to people to keep the pace of the innovation itself, and therefore the company for which this people is working for will be limited in following the innovation by the people itself. So it's what I see is that the people is now, let me say, the higher inertia of the innovation and not the technology itself. So for that reason, the ability to have this kind of way of predict the future or foresight the future should be increased, especially for managers. How? You mentioned the definition, which is given to this topic. I think this definition is not complete. I think I would like to have history involved in the definition itself. And the reason why is that exactly because of the increase of speed of innovation, generations tend to forget what was already invented, or they do not know even what was already invented. Let's use the example of artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence as technology is there for 30, 40 years. If you are an expert in artificial intelligence, you know it. We were applying artificial intelligence to manufacturing, which is my field, already in 1992. Okay, but it was not so well developed or used as a technology, not because the technology was not working, but because for artificial intelligence you need a lot of data to train the algorithm, and other technologies like the IoT was not so well developed to provide the large quantity of data. But the technology was already there, artificial intelligence. I'm really, how can I say, it's really funny to see that people now who are young and not being aware that this technology was already there 20, 30 years, they look at artificial intelligence as a today invention, right? And they are claiming it, that they invented, or this is something new. This is totally wrong. So they are somehow reinventing or claim to have invented something which was already there. So I think that, and the other reason, the second reason to look at the history is not to do the same mistake which were done in the past, when an invention, when something which was created was put into the market. So my comment is not because I am a fan of the history, not just because I want to slow down the speed of innovation, but since I want to increase the speed of innovation, I think we need to know what was in the past, or at least in the recent past. I think this definition should be improved by adding future and somehow something related with the past.
Okay, thanks so much. At the next event, we will change the definition of slaughter in the futuring is to improve, to think future, recording and capitalizing, remembering and capitalizing the past, the history. Thank you. Mr. Barbera, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, thank you so much. We have just started with a short, ice-breaking question. So I ask you, what do you think about the foresight skills, and why is it so important to build, to develop, to improve these skills for today's students and managers and also business professionals?
Yes, well, let me first say something from my own teaching experience. I do teach at the university, at the University of Torino, and in 2 of my 3 courses, I teach foresight and, future studies. These 2 courses are applied social theory, namely the uses of social theory outside the boundaries of academia, or university and academic research. And this is the first one. And the second one is social innovation. They are both strongly connected to foresight and future studies. In these 2 courses, as I said, I teach foresight and futuring to my students. And, well, the first thing that I would like to say, to underline, is that they like it a lot. I mean, I was a bit skeptical in the beginning, because you never know the reaction in introducing this kind of things in the academic, so to say, context. How students will react, and the reaction. I've been doing this, since something like two years. Well, the reaction has been very positive, and because speaking of futures gives to them, this is quite a surprise, I have to say. Speaking of future gives to them, to the students, an idea of something concrete, and something that is connected to action, to doing, to do something, not just thinking, not just fighting, not just speculating about, society, economy, and so on and so forth, but about, action. So future talks for them is not something abstract. It's not something, detached from the thing that they perceive are important, but it's something that is very much connected with this. What they perceive to be, far away, on the other end, is actually the classic academic way of framing knowledge, theories, school of thought, and so on and so forth. Future is for them, a concrete concern. Future is, you could say, is something that is today. It's not something which is far away. This being said, this is the general, the general reaction that I was able to more precisely. The skill that are needed to develop, to empower, to improve foresight capabilities are, quite clear. The first one that I noticed in my students is the capacity to aspire, is the idea that the capacity to link a personal need, something that require and that involve my need, to a collective future solution. So if you like, the first, and again this was unexpected, the first and most important skill for foresight and future studies, reflexivity, is the capability to connect your need today to a collective solution tomorrow. And this is not this. What I've been elaborating on this is that foresight is not just a technical skill. Of course, as I will say, methods, technique are important, are key for foresight. But first and foremost, foresight requires a specific kind of imagination, if you like. The capability to connect the level of, myself today, my needs today, my unmet needs today, if you like, the level of we tomorrow. So this is a reflexive skill, something that is connected to the capability to think yourself with others in the future.
Okay.
Okay. So this would be my take on.
Yeah, thank you. I will come back to you soon because we have to understand concretely what does it mean in terms of technology and tools. I'll come back to you soon. Professor Iannaccone, I'll come back to you. Politecnico of Milano has set up a center for technology foresight to provide insights and support medium to long-term research to its researchers, but also to the professional and the managers that work with the Center of Technology. Can you explain what this is and how students can benefit it?
The Center for Technology Foresight at Politecnico di Milano has been recently established, but let's say is the outcome of a longer process. Started with the idea of systematize the spread different competences existing within Politecnico di Milano, and together with the competences and the skills of the network of academic and industrial partners at national and international level. And this is part, as I told, as a longer process which belongs to what is called the third mission of the university. So to be a university open to the society and the civil society and the public institution and industries and entrepreneurs and so on. And this is because the idea was to give an answer to the nowadays question of the society. Because the question that the society is asking to the universities are really clear. We realized that, especially during the pandemic, what were the requests of the society, considering what is this fast changing world. And so the idea was to set up this center, considering the institutional role and the responsibility that the Politecnico di Milano within its extended community has. And let's say the research question in general to Politecnico di Milano belongs to, let's say, a longer term view, and even to the great challenges of the society nowadays, the challenges that can be, let's say, well represented by the Sustainable Development Goals that we assumed since the beginning of the institution of this center as KPI, key performance indicators for our analysis. And we started with a first exercise. Then in order to explain how students can benefit from the center, we started in order to engage the community of Politecnico di Milano with the first survey that we launched last year, that was aimed to understand the impact of selected numbers of technologies. We selected 50 innovation and emerging technologies in order to understand the impact on the Sustainable Development Goals. All the documents that we collected for this survey, and even the results of the survey, we collected 50,000 opinions by the Politecnico community, professors, researchers, and even the alumni. They were collected through on a specific website that we set up. So students may access to the website, which is foresight.polimi.it, and get the information on these technologies and even the outcomes of this survey, and a booklet and a map that we developed together with the communication partner about the results. And what are the results? The results, the outcome of this first survey highlighted that there are, let's say, there is a competition among a set of technologies that can have a great impact on social and economical development, and other set of technologies which have a higher impact on the preservation of the planet, the resources, the well-being of people. So the idea is to move on, and the next foresight exercise that we have planned and we started at the end of September is to focus on some, let's say, key areas like mobility, smart cities, and energy, in order to, let's say, to perform forecast exercise and understand what are the technologies with the higher impact, to understand what could be possible synergies or even barriers arising by this analysis. And of course, many colleagues will be part of this work. And as a tradition of Politecnico di Milano, where the results of the research are transferred into didactics, students will benefit indirectly because their professor will share the acquired knowledge that will be anyway, always open and available on the Foresight website of Politecnico di Milano.
In this great community, as you mentioned, there are also many technical centers. As you mentioned, Politecnico has an international role. So can you explain why Politecnico di Milano has decided to align itself with other technical research centers, for example, Fraunhofer?
Fraunhofer has set up a Foresight division several years ago. Of course, when we started this center, we analyzed what other centers were doing. Of course, Fraunhofer is a private research institute, really important, and we look at that. But our idea was to, let's say, to preserve our role as a public institution. So basically our references are mainly other universities that we started the same process, and I must say that they started the process of introducing strategic foresight within the institution, like for example the Imperial College of London, the ATH in Zurich, and the National University of Singapore. And we started at the same time, and we are in contact with them in order to share ideas and experiences and to understand even how to help each other in order to empower this path towards foresight.
Yeah, there's a very lot opportunities for students. Professor Taisch, you have a double point of view, because as professor you see the changing mindset of students. As president of ofMADE, you see how companies are evolving in terms of digital transformation journeys, but also in terms of new needs to survive or to gain these uncertain words. So what are the ingredients to align the expectation of the students with the needs of companies, especially in the manufacturing field, that is very important for the GDP in Italy? And we have a great opportunity this year.
Yeah. Manufacturing, of course, is very important for the GDP in Italy, but also for many others country in Europe, and especially in this period. From the student perspective, the expectations, let me say, but also the drawbacks. I see that our students or our fresh graduates, let me say, are too used to live in an environment where innovation is part of the environment itself. And so what I see is that they are not so, let me say, fully in line with the fact that innovation is coming from people. Okay, so for innovation from them, it's something which is given, which is somehow in the environment, and they do not fully realize the fact that innovation is coming mainly from people, from foresight activities, which is done by people. So I think that some of them are too much relaxed, or too relaxed, in order to expect that they have to be or have an active role in the innovation. From the company perspective, many of the companies who we work with are, let me say, still sleeping. Let's be very provocative, or living in a kind of cloud, not in the sense of the IT, but in a fog, where they are not even aware of the fact that the speed of innovation has increased dramatically. And when we speak with a lot of entrepreneurs, since they have been successful entrepreneurs in the 60s, in the 70s, their answer is, we did this for many years, we have been a successful company, why should we change, right? And therefore, this ignorance of what is happening today in the market, I think it's really the putting them in a threatening situation. What I see is not the fact that they are not willing to invest. What I see is that they are not even aware that they have to invest due to the fact that the outside environment is changing too fast. The reason is also related to the fact that the way of changing is different from the previous one. Let's take the example of mechatronic, and we have here, a very good example. A lot of entrepreneurs, especially in Italy, they have grown in the mechanical industries, where one, let's say, area of competences, area of technology was there, the mechanical engineering technologies. But the innovation is not coming from the mechanical area, it's coming from the digital area, which is the topic that we are discussing today, which is a totally different body of know-how, body of knowledge, right? And since this is not their core know-how, they are not aware what is happening, but also they are not able to understand what is happening. How many of you, and I expect that I'm talking to, let me say, trained and educated people, have understood cloud technology when it was first explained to you? I didn't, okay? When a guy approached me and say, hey, Marco, you know that your emails, your inbox can be somewhere on another server and you can have access to his email from any devices. That's a new technology. I did not understand that because I was trained, I was used to have my emails on my computers. And when I had to go to the weekend, I was used to take my own laptop with me because my emails were in the memory of my laptop, not somewhere else. And I think I'm not, let me say, I'm not trained a person. But if you teach or try to explain this to a 60, 70-year-old person or entrepreneur, she doesn't understand. And since they do not understand what is happening, they are not able to understand the importance of what is happening. So the threat to today companies is coming from the fact that the innovation is outside of their market, is coming from outside or their body of knowledge. And I think this is the most difficult things to have them to train. This is why I love the topic of mechatronics, because it's showing in the name that the innovation is coming from the join of two different areas. I am a fan of Industry 4.0, but I am the first one saying that Industry 4.0 is somehow a wrong name because it's too limited to the fact that innovation is in the factory. That's what it is in the name, Industry Factory 4.0. But innovation of this technology is coming in the business project, in the business product, in the business models of manufacturing companies. Most of the manufacturing companies still think that is enough for them to, use these technologies that you see here around in their own factory. But these technologies can be used to develop the supply chain, can be used to develop the business model, can be used to create product 4.0, business model 4.0, supply chain 4.0, much more. So also the names sometimes are, limiting, constraining the name because they are giving it a particular direction when the direction is much broader.
Of course, thank you. Mr. Barbera, I come back to you. To solve and manage the complexity explained by Professor Taisch at Forwardto, you help people and company to design the future scenario, to understand the futures, the possible futures, and to use different tools to do it. Can you explain what kind of problem do you solve with foresight skills and what kind of tools you use?
Yes. Yes, in fact, besides being a professor of sociology at the University of Torino, I'm president of Forwardto, which is an association made of professionals working in strategic consulting, change management, and foresight, and we try to offer our services both public organization and private companies. Well, I mean, the first thing to be underlined in this direction, and to make a long story short, is that many times, or most of the times, companies, both public and private companies and organizations, do not ask, well, would you help us to figure out future scenarios? So they don't have, the need, explicit need of future, or of, understanding what kind of future they will be facing, and they do not ask explicitly for, future consultancy. This is very, very rare. It happens very, very rarely. I mean, just a very small minority of clients, so to say, that approach us with this, specific question in mind. So future is very rarely a cause of concern, and this is a problem. I mean, at the same time, this is an opportunity, because I mean, we spend quite a lot of our time to build the need. Okay, starting from the kind of questions that these clients are, ask us to us. We try to transform this, very, short-term, short-sighted, and very concrete question to something which is, more future-oriented. So we need to build the need of future, to shift the problem they address to the foresight frame. And this is unpaid, if you like, part of our job with both, as I said, public and private companies. The assessment of the need, and this, as I said, requires times. The second phase, after this is done, the second phase is the application of methods and technique to the problem that has been assessed. Okay, this is what characterize our approach to foresight and future. The specific methodological solutions which are calibrated to the specific need of the client. The third feature is the fact that we many times mix this future and foresight solution to research insight. The specific the configuration of Forwardto, the mix of competences that you can find in Forwardto is actually this one. We have both professional, as I said, people working in strategic consulting management, and academics, both from economics, sociology, psychology, humanities as well, and engineering as well. And we try to mix insights from the academic field with the methodological solution which are offered by Foresight in Future.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you for your contribution. Closing the roundtable in a very nutshell, please, Professor Iannaccone, Professor Taisch, your personal suggestion to the students that are following us with the YouTube channel today.
Okay, it's always difficult for me to speak fast when I speak English, because in Italian I'm really good about that, not in English. But anyway, definitely students, by acquiring these forecast skills, they will be able to acquire even, let's say, a positive and optimistic attitude towards the future. And this is really, really important in order to, because they have to understand that even with their specialistic skills and competencies, they can contribute to build a future better world. What is important for the students is to understand that maybe the world in the future, when they will be, what they will practice as a future professional may be different from the world that we know now. So they should be open to better understand the phenomena and even offer different solutions by using knowledge, methodologies, tools coming from different areas and disciplines, even so far from the one typically, let's say, associated to some specific field. And this is really important. They have to be adaptive, even overcoming some rigidities and simplification that we as a teacher introduce sometimes for, let's say, teaching and didactic purposes. And last but not least, always in every film, always think about what is the final aim of your activity as a future professional. You will be, in this case, engineers, but designers or architects, all the students of Politecnico di Milano. With their competencies and skills, they will have to contribute to build, invent, create new artifacts, tools, knowledge, and they will be necessary in order to improve the quality of our life, to improve to preserve the planet and its ecosystems, because they are core values of the society nowadays. And they will be more and more core values of the society of tomorrow, because without preserving this value, there is no thought about the future that makes sense. So,
Professor Taisch.
Yes, engineering in the broader sense, so including, of course, industrial design, architecture, is the art of designing and creating the future. So I think that our students should not be ashamed or feel, let's say, uncomfortable in designing their own future. So the future is in their own hand. They should take an active role in this perspective.
Thank you. Mr. Barbera, rapidly, your appeals to students.
Yes, well, 3 tips. The first one is be engaged. Future is a collective concern. The second one is read widely. Foresight skills needs interdisciplinarity. And the third one is be technically skilled. Offer solutions that are grounded in methods. These are my 2 tips.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you to all these great panelists. Thank you so much. Just a few seconds that we change for the second round table to sanitizing the microphones and seats. A few seconds. Thank you.
Thank you, bye.